Decoding Rumi's Masnavi by Pirjan. Part 3. The Merchant and the Parrot. As mentioned before, intelligence is about understanding the truth without the interference of the judgment. Intelligence is an inward flow possessed by human beings. To begin the flow of intelligence, we must observe with complete humility. What matters is that we see ourselves as we are. This requires a lot of humility, and one must be true to oneself. Our perception of ourselves and the moral vices go back to what they are. It was also pointed out that humans become conditioned. How the merchant related to the parrot what he had witnessed on the part of the parrots of India. The merchant finished his trading and returned home glad at heart. He brought a present for every male slave. He gave a token to every slave girl. "Where is my present?" asked the parrot. "Relate what thou hast said and seen." "Nay," said he, "indeed I am repenting of that which I said, gnawing my hand and biting my fingers. Why, from ignorance and folly, did I idly bear such an inconsiderate message?" "O master," said the parrot, "what is thy repentance for? What is it that causes this anger and grief?" "I told thy complaints," said he, "to a company of parrots resembling thee. One parrot got scent of thy pain, her heart broke, and she trembled and died. I became sorry, thinking, why did I say this? But what was the use of repenting after I had said it? Know that a word which suddenly shot from the tongue is like an arrow shot from a bow. O son, that arrow does not turn back on its way. You must dam a torrent at the source." Following on from mystical teachings, the steps for the crisis must be taken before it occurs. When the flood does happen, no one is able to do anything. Rumi's suggestion is that awareness of the flood must trigger prior actions. When it left the source behind, it swept over a world. If it lays waste the world, 'tis no wonder. There is an unseen bringing forth of effects to our action, and the results born of it are not in the control of creatures. Human performance has hidden effects beyond their control. Many effects are no longer in human control because human beings are enslaved by their own will. The flow that comes out of humans may rule them. Rumi teaches that one must first become aware because one may be captured by one's actions. We are predetermined and forced to apply our wills. When we ignore the hidden effects of our actions, we will become confused about the relationship between the part and the whole in the world. Hence, we have to be honest with ourselves and have the ability to observe lies, jealousy, hatred, greed, and other vices that are like floods in us. Human communities all consider themselves ethical. Escape networks are made in communities, yet mysticism sees no need for such networks and assumes conscious observation as the solution to human problems. Love is suppressed in children and adults, and parents destroy it in them. Self-observation is the hardest thing to do because of its simplicity. Mysticism has no problem with intelligence, but opposes the ignorance that appears under the guise of intelligence. Schopenhauer believes that the only way to save the human is to purify thought and to free will, while he assumes both of them under the control of the human. Purifying thought means observing ourselves as we are. As the viewpoints change, the type of will also changes. Those results are all created by God without any partner, though they are imputed to us. Zaid let fly an arrow in the direction of Amr. His arrow gripped Amr like a leopard. During a long time, a year, it was producing pain. Pains are created by God, not by man. If Zaid, who shot the arrow, died of fright at the moment, pains are continually being produced there until Amr's death, inasmuch as he died from the results of the hurt. For this cause, call Zaid, who shot, the murder. Impute those pains to him, though all of them are the work of the Creator. So it's sowing and breathing, and snares in sexual intercourse. The results of those actions are amenable to God. The saints possess power from God. They turned back from its course the arrow that had sped. When the saint repents, he closes the door of the results from the cause by the hand of the Lord. Through the opening of the door, he makes unsaid what has been said, so that neither spit nor roast meat is burnt thereby. The willpower in those who move in the shadow of wisdom will blossom, rendering them competent. Their will is manifested in the light of wisdom. In the Abrahamic religions, one type of God is spoken of, the creator of the universe, a drop which exists within the humans and causes them to connect with God. When humans reach this divine drop, they can be connected to God. This godliness is capable of returning the arrow to the bow. The path of Rumi's mysticism frees human beings in this highway of freedom. These are intrinsic abilities of humans, not prayer or magic. These abilities, as well as advances in technology today, were unbelievable centuries ago. The human can be a god on earth and act like gods. He wipes out the saying from all the minds that heard it, and makes it imperceptible. O sire, if thou must needs have demonstration and proof, recite verse or cause to be forgotten. Read the verse, they made you forget my warning. Acknowledge their power to put forgetfulness in the men's hearts. Since they are able to make remember and forget, they are mighty over all the hearts of God's creatures. When he has blocked the road of your mental perception by means of forgetfulness, it is impossible for you to act, even if there be virtue in you. Think ye those exalted ones are a laughingstock? Recite from the Quran as far as the words, they made you forget. He that owns a village is king over bodies. He that owns a heart is king over your hearts. Without any doubt, action is a branch of seeing. Therefore man is nothing but the little man. What matters is that the observation is made first. Afterward, the action is also done. I dare not expound the whole of this subject. Hindrance thereto is coming from those who are at the center. How the parrot heard what those parrots had done, and died in the cage, and how the merchant made lament for her. When the bird heard what that other parrot had done, she trembled exceedingly, fell, and became cold. The merchant, seeing her thus fallen, sprang up and dashed his cap on the ground. When he saw her in this guise and in this state, the merchant sprang forward and tore the breast of his garment. He said, O beautiful parrot with thy sweet cry, what is this that has happened to thee? Why hast thou become like this? Oh, alas for my sweet-voiced bird! Oh, alas for my bosom friend and confidant! Oh, alas for my melodious bird, the wine of my spirit and my garden and my sweet basil! Had Solomon possessed a bird like this, how indeed should he have become occupied with those birds? Oh, alas for the bird which I gained cheaply, and so soon turned my face away from her countenance. O tongue, thou art a great damage to me. Since thou art speaking, what should I say to thee? O tongue, thou art both the fire and the stack. How long wilt thou dart this fire upon this stack? Secretly my soul is groaning because of thee, although it is doing whatsoever thou biddest it. Language has an important role in human life, but sometimes it is out of our control. On the way, one should never wait for language because its function is limited. In the shadow of consciousness, one has to move on in life and observe as the behavior of the Indian parrot as a symbol of our superior patterns. The Indian parrot conveyed its message to the captive parrot without using any words in order not to alert the merchant. One has to wait consciously and without judgment for inner messages in silence, as they can be liberating. When the tongue is active, there may be a lot of damage to inner understanding. Internal communication is done in silence. O tongue, thou art a treasure without end. O tongue, thou art also a disease without remedy. Thou art at once a whistle and decoy for birds, and a comforter in the desolation of absence. How long wilt thou grant me mercy, O merciless one, O thou who hast drawn the bow to take vengeance on me? The human mind is ready to steal their perceptions. When something is said, the mind begins to steal the thought. Lo, Thou hast made my bird fly away. Do not browse any more in the pasture of injustice. Either answer me or give redress, or mention to me what will be the means of producing joy. Oh, alas for my darkness-consuming dawn! Oh, alas for my day-enkindling light! Oh, alas for my bird of goodly flight that has flown from my end to my beginning! The ignorant man is in love with pain unto everlasting. Arise and read, I swear, as far as in trouble. With thy face I was free from trouble, and in thy river I was unsoiled by froth. These cries of alas are caused by the fantasy of seeing the beloved and by separation from my present existence. 'Twas the jealousy of God, and there is no device against God. Where is a heart that is not shattered in 100 pieces by God's love? The jealousy of God is this, that He is other than all things, that He is beyond explanation and the noise of words. Oh, alas, would that my tears were an ocean, that they may be strewn as an offering to the fair charmer. My parrot, my clever-headed bird, the interpreter of my thought and inmost consciousness, she has told me from the first that I might remember it, whatsoever should come to me as my allotted portion of right and wrong. The parrots whose voice comes from divine inspiration, and whose beginning was before the beginning of existence, that parrot is hidden within thee. Thou hast seen the reflection of her upon this and that. She takes away thy joy, and because of her thou art rejoicing. Thou receivest injury from her as though it were justice. O thou who art burning the soul for the body's sake, thou hast burnt the soul and illumined the body. I am burning. Does anyone want tinder? Let him set his rubbish ablaze with fire from me. Inasmuch as tinder is combustible, take tinder that catches fire. Oh alas, oh alas, oh alas, that such a moon become hidden under the clouds. How should I utter a word? For the fire in my heart is grown fierce. The line of separation has become raging and bloodshedding. One that even when sober is violent and furious, how will it be when he takes the wine cup in his hand? The furious lion, who is beyond description, is too great for the wide expanse of the meadow. I am thinking of rhymes, and my sweetheart says to me, do not think of aught except vision of me. Sit at thy ease, my rhyme-meditating friend. In my presence thou art rhymed with felicity. What are words that thou shouldest think of them? What are words? Thorns in the hedge of the vineyard. I will throw word and sound and speech into confusion, that without these three I may converse with thee. That word which I kept hidden from Adam, I will speak to thee, O consciousness of the world. That word which I did not communicate to Abraham, and that pain which Gabriel does not know. That word of which the Messiah breathed not a word God, from jealousy, did not utter even without ma. What is ma in language? Positive and negative. I am not positive. I am selfish and negated. Everyone must follow their own self, trying not to imitate others. I found individuality in non-individuality. Therefore I wove individuality into non-individuality. All kings are enslaved to their slaves. All people are dead for one who dies for them. All kings are prostrate before one who is prostrate before them. All people are intoxicated with love for one who is intoxicated with them. The fowler becomes a prey to the birds in order that of a sudden he may make them his prey. The hearts of heart-ravishers are captivated by those who have lost their hearts to them. All loved ones are the prey of lovers. Whomsoever thou didst deem to be a lover, regard him as the loved one, for relatively he is both this and that. If they that are thirsty seek water from the world, water too seeks in the world them that are thirsty. Inasmuch as he is thy lover, do thou be silent, as he is pulling thine ear, be thou all ear. Damn the torrent of ecstasy when it runs in flood, else it will work shame and ruin. What care I though ruin be? Under the ruin there is a royal treasure. He that is drowned in God wishes to be more drowned, while his spirit is tossed up and down like the waves of the sea, asking, Is the bottom of the sea more delightful, or the top? Is his arrow more fascinating, or the shield? O heart, thou art torn asunder by evil suggestion, if thou recognize any difference between joy and woe. Although the object of thy desire has the taste of sugar, is not absence of any object of desire the object of the beloved's desire? Every star of his is the blood price of 100 new moons. It is lawful for him to shed the blood of the world. We gain the price and the blood price. We hasten to gamble our soul away. Oh, the life of lovers consists in death. Thou wilt not win the heart except in losing thy own. I sought to win his heart with 100 airs and graces, but he made excuses to me in disdain. I said, after all this mind and soul of mine are drowned in thee. Begone, said he. Begone, do not chant these spells over me. Do not I know what thought thou hast conceived? O thou who hast seen double, how hast thou regarded the beloved? O gross-spirited one, thou hast helped me in light esteem, because thou hast bought me very cheaply. He that buys cheaply gives cheaply. A child will give a pearl for a loaf of bread. I am drowned in a love so deep that the rain are drowned the first loves and the last. I have told it summarily. I have not explained it, otherwise both thy perceptions and my tongue would be consumed. When I speak of lip, 'tis the lip of the sea. When I say not, the intended meaning is except. By reason of sweetness I sit with sour face. From fullness of speech I am silent, that in the mask of sour-facedness my sweetness may be kept hidden from the two worlds. In order that this subject may not come to every ear, I am telling one out of 100 esoteric mysteries. What illuminates the human is not in words. Language creates just a hallucination of understanding because there is no first-hand experience. One must overcome all deceptions and sincerely abandon all tricks. The more makeup we apply to ourselves for a friend, the less attention we will receive. Mysticism is not for all human beings. The message of mysticism must reach the one who deserves it. The masks must be removed. Reverting to the tale of the merchant who went to trade in India. The merchant in fire and anguish and yearning was uttering 100 distracted phrases like this, now self-contradiction, now disdain, now supplication, now passion for reality, now metaphor. The drowning man suffers an agony of soul and clutches at every straw. For fear of losing his head, he flings about both hand and foot to see whether anyone will take his hand in peril. The friend loves this agitation. It is better to struggle vainly than to lie still. He who is the king is not idle. Complaint from him would be a marvel, for he is not ill. For this reason said the merciful God, O son, every day he is busy in an affair, O son. In this way be thou ever scraping and scratching, until thy last breath do not be unoccupied for a moment, so that thy last breath may be a last breath in which the divine favor is thy bosom friend. Whatsoever the soul which is in man and woman strives to do, the ear and eye of the soul's king are at the window. The human has a responsibility not to despair and not to give up trying, because they may understand the secrets of liberation within a moment. In his poems, Rumi emphasizes the windows and assumes them as an opening to liberation, not pursuing truth in reasoning and thought. How the merchant cast the parrot out of the cage, and how the dead parrot flew away. After that, he cast her out of the cage. The little parrot flew to a lofty bough. The dead parrot made such a swift flight as when the orient sun rushed onward. The merchant was amazed at the action of the bird. Without understanding, he suddenly beheld the mysteries of the bird. The merchant, a symbol of thought, is taken aback here. One must see the actions and pay attention to the teachings. He lifted up his face and said, O nightingale, give us profit by explaining thy case. What did she do there that thou didst learn, devise a trick, and burn us? The parrot said, She by her act counseled me, abandon thy charm of voice and thy affection, because thy voice has brought thee into bondage. She feigned herself dead for the sake of giving me this counsel, meaning to say, O thou who hast become a singer to high and low, become dead like me, that thou mayest gain release. If you are a grain, the little birds will peck you up. If you are a bud, the children will pluck you off. Hide the grain, become wholly a snare. Hide the bud, become the grass on the roof. Anyone who offers his beauty to auction, 100 evil fates set out towards him. Plots and angers and envies pour upon his head, like water from waterskins. Foes tear him to pieces from jealousy. Even friends take his lifetime away. He that was heedless of the sowing and the springtide, how should he know the value of this lifetime? You must flee to the shelter of God's grace, who shed thousandfold grace upon spirits, that you may find shelter. Then, how shelter? Water and fire will become your army. Did not the sea become a friend to Noah and Moses? Did it not become overbearing in vengeance against their enemies? Was not the fire a fortress for Abraham, so that it raised smoke from the heart of Nimrod? Did not the mountain call Yahya to itself and drive off his pursuers with blows of stone? O Yahya, it said, come take refuge in me, that I may be thy shelter from the sharp sword. How the parrot bade farewell to the merchant and flew away. The parrot gave him 1 or 2 counsels full of savor, and after that bade him farewell of parting. The merchant said to her, Go, God protect thee. Just now thou hast shown to me a new way. Said the merchant to himself, This is the counsel for me. I will take her way, for this way is shining with light. How should my soul be meaner than the parrot? The soul ought to follow a good track like this. If one is prepared, one can understand the parrot's messages. One has to resort to oneself and see the path of one's movement to find a way out, like the parrot in the present story. Thought, wisdom, and intuition can be liberating if they are in the same direction.